Welcome to Fire and Smoke. My name is Amin Sheikh, and today I'm going to show you how we cook our in-house beef dino ribs end to end. That's right guys, I'm going to take you through the 8-hour cooking process to smoke these absolutely delicious Barkey 10 out of 10 beef dino ribs. Let's get to it. What we're using for today's recipe is some Costco beef ribs. We've got 2 sets of 3 bone-in ribs going on the smoker today. Let's get them out. Get them nice and dry. Both sets of these ribs we've got today are from Costco. First set of ribs has got some absolutely amazing marbling running through the back. Second one is a little bit smaller, a little bit less meat. When you buy your ribs from Costco, unfortunately, they often come already cut. There's a big score mark through this one. This one is exactly the same, so all we're going to be able to do is take that off because we don't want this to burn up during the cooking process. We're also going to remove that silver skin, so we're down to meat only, which is a bit of a shame considering there's so much fat on this. Unfortunately, the silver skin membrane won't cook down, it won't render down, it's going to be chewy at the end of the cook, so there's no point keeping it on there. So we're going to get that off and we're just going to hope there's enough fat on these ribs to make them absolutely delicious. We'll focus on one of these at a time. All we're going to do is grab a sharp knife, get underneath the silver skin and just take off all of the silver skin and leave as much of that fat on as possible. If I'm being honest though, I don't think there's going to be much fat left on there today. We're going to start with the scraggly section here because that's just going to burn up during the cook, which isn't ideal. All you want to do is take the sharp edge of your knife, put it underneath the silver skin, try and leave as much meat on there as possible, put it through, take small strokes. Taking small stroke. Now, to be honest guys, a couple of gouges in there, can't do very much about that. As I said, at the end of the day, they are Costco ribs, so you get what you get when you get them from Costco. But there is still a little bit of fat on there, we're going to leave that on there. Alternatively, otherwise, we're going to end up with no meat on these ribs at all. Costco ribs, however, in comparison to craft butcher ribs, or alternatively, if you buy butcher ribs online, they cost an absolute fortune. So, not that great. We've done an okay trim on these. There's quite a bit of fat coming through there, so still pretty confident they're going to be delicious. That's the first rack. Next one up, we're going to go for exactly the same. We're going to start by taking off this big massive gouge section, and then we're going to go into the silver skin, take the full top layer off. Second rack, done. I'm not going to deny it, there's a lot of random cuts on here, there's some gouges in places. Hopefully these still work out. If I'm going to be honest, these are probably the worst pack of beef ribs I've ever had from Costco, which is a surprise considering I've now bought up to about 20 packs of these 2 sets of 3 bone-in ribs from Costco. Not sure what's going on here guys, but we're going to continue with the cook. Both sets of ribs are now completely trimmed to the best of my ability, which is not the greatest considering these ribs were not the best to start with. For seasonings today, we're keeping it super simple, super traditional, as this is how we do our in-house fire and smoke ribs. We're going 2 parts pepper to 1 part salt and a little bit of garlic, store-bought mustard as a binder. First up, just some store-bought mustard, put it everywhere. Now, as I do this guys, I quite like to try and keep one hand clean, which is going to in this case be my right hand, a little bit more on there. The keen eye amongst you will notice I never took the membrane off. I like to keep the membrane on there, mainly because these are quite short ribs compared to others, especially craft butchers, and what I wanted to do was make sure that when the meat pulls back from the bone, it doesn't completely fall off. So we're going to be okay with this. As I said, one hand, get your mustard everywhere, it's just a binder. At this point, it's not really going to do too much for the flavour. There you are guys, covered in mustard. Next up is pepper. This is 16 ground mesh, Kirkland brand from Costco as well. Just put a heavy coating of that on there because this is what you're going to need to create that delicious barbecue. You see that all the big Texas barbecue places make. Don't forget your sides. It's a little bit windy out here today, so we're fighting that just a little bit. Next up, kosher salt. Last but not least, just some garlic granules. Both of these sets of ribs are now completely seasoned and ready to go in the smoker. All we're going to do is light the smoker, charcoal a chimney, let it come up to temperature, stick these on. Grab your favourite chimney starter, add in 2 lighters, and then we're going in with Big T wood charcoal for the fire today, as this is going to help us create an amazing coal bed. Just like that, 25 minutes are done. Get your smoker door open, fire your coal straight in there, set it how you want it. We've got an amazing V system in our 130 gallon, so it keeps coal good. A couple of bits of wood on top, another one there for good measure, and then we've got the coal bed and the wood is starting to burn. Now, what we're going to do next is go in with a turbo fan because we want to get this fire going ripping hot as soon as possible to get the pit up to temperature. And just like that, everything's on fire. A little bit later, the pit's now up to temperature, so we're going to close all of our doors down, get the stack down and get it rocking. Right now, we are shooting for that 200F mark as we want to get these ribs on and we want to start creating that real good bark. Now, as the cook goes on, we're going to bump the temperature up a little bit, probably at the 250, and then finish these off round about the 300 mark. The 130 gallon smoker is now fully up to temperature, so the last thing we're going to do before we stick these ribs on is put in our meter probe. Now, we use a meter probe specifically for the one reason that I want to know my ambient temperature well inside that pit. Other than that, all we're basically doing is we're going for touch, we're going for probe tender using our thermopen. In order to use your meter probe, all you want to do is this. Get your ribs, find the section with the most meat, find in between both of those ribs, put your meter probe in, push it down as far as it's comfortable being before you get to your line, and that's it. While this cook's going on, I can check how the ambient temperatures are doing. It also gives me an idea of what's going on inside the meat itself. Let's get them on. What we're going to do is we're going to take the 1 millimeter probe in it and we're going to put it a little bit further to the back at an angle, just so we know what the ambient temperatures are round about this area. Second one in, same situation, we're going to put it here just so we know what's going on. Now, I know for a fact the back of my pit cooks a little bit hotter than the front, so I'm putting the bit of meat that's the biggest and the fattiest at the back. Specifically for the cook today, I'm smoking using seasoned, air-dried cherry wood only. Let's get the lid down, let's get the first few hours of this cook underway. The coal bed and fire is now completely established. All I'm doing at this point is adding on a couple of more wood splits every maybe 45-50 minutes throughout the cook. Paying crucial attention to not choke the fire and always leave airflow between the wood that's on the coals and the wood above the coals so they can burn evenly. We are now about the 2 hour mark into this cook, and as you can see, the ribs are starting to take on real good colour and all that smoke is imparting onto that meat perfectly. Now they are starting to crisp up, which is good because that's exactly where we want these ribs. We want them to get crispy, we want to get them barky, and then after they're crispy and after they're barky, we'll go on to the next step. So for now, that's it, quick check up at the 2 hour mark. We are now coming up on the 4 hour mark of the cook, so let's see how these ribs are doing. These are coming along nicely. The ribs themselves, they are pretty small, they're not that big, as I said. We completely took off all of the fat and all of the membrane, so they are drying out super quickly. So as to not burn these, because ideally we want them in for about 8 hours total, we're going to give them a quick spritz. A spritz for me, guys, it's a spray bottle, 50% apple cider vinegar, the other 50% is water, and all we're going to do is hit them all over just to make sure nothing burns. Grab your spray bottle, hit them all over. Make sure you get that back one as well, and as I'm saying, at this point we just want to make sure none of this actually burns up. There you go. Just moistening them back up again. Try not let all those edges dry out too much, but don't worry if they do dry out, we're going to cover that in the next step as well. So that's them at the 4 hour mark. Let's get them back on for another 2 hours, and at that point we're probably going to wrap them. Another quick peek at the 5.5 hour mark, and at this point we're just taking some temperatures. We're hitting 155 in the back one, 165 in the closer left edge, 162 in the front, so it's time to get these swapped around. As I mentioned before, the back of my pit cooks a little bit hotter on the front, so it's always good to know where your hot spots are versus your cold spot. The Costco Beef Ribs have now been on for the best part of 6 hours. Over that time, all we've really done is keep the fire steady between 200 and 250. We have continually give them in a spritz anytime they've got a little bit crusty around the edges, and that's pretty much it. Checked all of the ribs with the thermopen 1, and these are all coming in between 155 and 165, which means these have hit the stall as well. Bear in mind, it's not a massive cut of meat. These aren't as big as your generalised big beef dino ribs that you'll see all the Texans do. These are UK Costco beef ribs, so you get what you get. They're not going to take as long to cook, so we're going to get these off, we're going to get them wrapped in butcher paper, add in some more beef tallow, and then get them back in the smoker. Set of these ribs off, and as you can see, these are super dark, super barky, and that crust has really started to set in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with some beef tallow on top of these. We're going to wrap them, we're going to put them back in the smoker, meat side down, and we're going to sous vide these until probe tender. Put a healthy amount of beef tallow back on these. All this is going to do is melt down and take these to the next level. Next set of beef ribs up. These ones look even better because they're thicker. You can tell this end is fully rendered down. Again, remember, with these Costco ribs, you just don't get as much fat, so we're aiding that process by adding in more beef tallow. Remember to take out your meter probe, put that back in. Going in with quite a helping hand of beef tallow. Don't be stingy with this, guys. This is just going to aid in the process. Same situation as before. First wrap, flatten everything down, fill in your sides. Remember, they're going meat side down, so wrap in your edges and your final folds on top. Just like that. Now again, we want to put our meter probe back in there because we want to see the ambient temperatures to make sure these get to 203 to 205 before they're done. Just put it straight back in. That's it. Costco ribs are now completely back on the smoker. These were probed in the 155 to 165. They've been taken off, they've been wrapped, added beef tallow, now they're back on the smoker. Now we're going to continue the process. We're going to bump the temperatures up to 250 and we're going to take them all the way to 300 to finish these off. We are now at the 8-hour mark of this beef rib cook. At this point, these ribs are looking absolutely done. The extra beef tallow we've put on there is completely saturated right through the butcher paper. The internal meter probe was telling me that we're at the 203 to 205 mark, so these are pretty much ready to come off. Grab yourselves a handy tray. Beef ribs are now off. All we're going to do, wrap them in cling film, keep them nice and warm, let them come down to 165F, and then we're going to try these, see how we did on the cook. Let's leave these on the worktop to come down to eating temperature. Got a bit of a change of plan with these ribs, guys. I unfortunately did not get to them as quick as I wanted. All we did was take the cling film back off of there, we put them in the oven in our low and slow setting. I'm aware we did take off 2 sets of these ribs, however, as soon as they came down to eating temperature, the family had the other rack away, they were cut up and they were gone within about 5 minutes. This rack, however, is for us. Let's get them out. As you can see, we did a very heavy trim on these, and all of that additional beef tallow that we added back on there to help soften this part has definitely done its thing, and it's absolutely saturated all the way through the butcher paper. There you go, guys, one absolutely perfectly cooked set of beef ribs. Now, they are really small, we know that. They're from Costco here in the UK, we know that. They're not like most of my viewers are going to get in Canada and in America. When you get your beef ribs, they're going to be absolutely massive. Nonetheless, these have been cooked absolutely perfect. They are fully rendered down. They are super soft everywhere you look at them. These are going to be absolutely outstanding. That colour and that bark, this is why beef ribs are arguably the best bite in barbecue. As good as these beef ribs look, we actually want to taste them. Question I get a lot is, how do you slice your beef ribs? Because, as we can see, there's not a lot of meat on this bone here. The middle one is okay, but this right hand side one has got a lot of meat on there. Now, if you're trying to share these out with some friends, with some family, you don't want to give it a full rack, that's completely understandable. That's one of the main reasons why I enjoy Costco ribs so much, because they're not massive, they don't cost a fortune, and everybody can get themselves their own individual beef rib. To cut these up, to share them out so everybody gets an even bite, what we do here at Fire and Smoke, find our most outside rib, we take our knife, we cut along the inside of this rib, we then repeat the same process here. Now, it does mean that the bone can sometimes fall out. Rather the bone fell out and everybody got a nice beef rib, then one person got something massive and someone else got a tiny little bit at the end. So let's cut these up. Pick your favourite knife. As I've said, your outside bone's here, your next bone's here. We're just going to take our knife in at an angle and we're going to slice down, slicing involved. Same with this one. This bit of meat here is absolutely massive, so again we're going to go in at a higher angle and we're going to take it along the edge of this bone to the back of that bone. Got 3 ribs, all cut at an angle as you can see here and there, but it's not a problem because, as I said, you cut them properly, they don't fall off the bone and they're perfectly okay. The cook on these went spectacular. We've got a real good smoke ring all the way around here. That cherry wood is absolutely phenomenal for cooking these beef ribs. Flavour wise, we kept it super simple. We went salt, pepper, garlic only, as we wanted these beef ribs to be as traditional as possible for our fire and smoke ways of cooking them. Look at that smoke ring, the cherry's done its thing there. They are super delicious, quite fatty still and very barky. Now, if you're like me, you want to know how these taste. So let's try one out. Let's take the middle rib, a good bite. It's so soft, a lot of pepper on there. Meat just falls apart, absolutely delicious. Let's get a bite at the end of this one, because that flap with the additional rendered fat is going to be outstanding. It's like a burnt end, you can just pull it off if you want. As you can see, it completely falls apart. Again, as you can see, the fat is absolutely rendered down. These Costco ribs are delicious. Now, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, beef ribs are hands down the best bite in barbecue. I feel like they're the most forgiving piece of meat. Even if you cook them too harshly, they're going to forgive you. If the temperatures are too low, all you need to do is cook them a little bit longer, render out that fat, and they are absolutely amazing. These are so good, I just can't stop eating them. All of the meat is just completely tearing apart, as easy as you have it. There's so much flavour on there, so much smoke imparted in this meat that they are absolutely outstanding. The bark on these is super harsh, so if you want to soften that back down, follow the same method we did. Go with a butcher paper, go with an additional bit of beef tallow, get them back in the smoker or your barbecue, keep them going until they're pro tender. Beef ribs are super easy to cook. You can cook them on pretty much anything. You just need some heat, you need a little bit of coal, you need a little bit of smoke for that flavour. Ingredients are super simple: salt, pepper, garlic only, and you're going to create some absolutely amazing beef dino ribs just like this. So it's a pretty simple cook. There's not really been much to show you in the video. All it is a matter of is a quick trim on the beef ribs themselves, get your flavourings on there, light your pit, light your barbecue, light whatever way you're going to cook these, and get them on and get them cooked. In total, you're looking at about an 8-hour cook, give or take maybe an hour here or there. You're going to hit the stall anywhere between the 145 and the 165 mark. Just keep an eye on your temperature. As we say here at Fire and Smoke, keep it low and keep it slow and you won't have any issues. So that is it for this one, guys. I really hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you enjoyed our end-to-end beef rib cook on these Costco beef ribs. If you've seen some of our other videos before, you'll know we tend to use our local craft butchers, Stratton Craft Butchers. We've also bought really good beef ribs from John Davison Butchers before. Costco ribs are absolutely dynamite. We've even tried out some supermarket beef ribs. I'll leave a video for that one here. If you don't have a way to cook these the way that we did on our offset smoker, don't worry about that. I've got you covered. I do a full step-by-step video on how to cook beef dino ribs on a cheap supermarket barbecue. I'll leave the video for that here. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope there's some tricks and some tips in that video that you can follow along with. Keep it super plain, keep it super simple, and you're going to be able to create some real good barbecue just like this. If you want to see more like this, press that thumbs up button, leave any comments you might have in the comment section below, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!